Mr. Kiyosaki, do you remember what was your first business?
Well, I've had a lot of businesses, a lot of first businesses, but my first one was my little, I was making money out of toothpaste tubes. So
Toothpaste?
When I was a young boy, the toothpaste came in lead tubes.
Yeah.
So we'd melt them down, and I put it in plaster of Paris, and I was making quarters, dimes, and nickels. I found out that was illegal.
Good start. Yeah. Bit illegal.
Illegal,
yeah.
And I found out what counterfeiting is, and I learned a lot.
Yeah. How old were you? 9?
Yeah, about 9.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it your childhood dream to be rich once?
I don't know if it was my dream. I was more curious.
Yeah.
I kept having the question, how come they're rich and I'm poor?
Yeah.
Why are they rich? Why am I poor? And I always wanted to know why, and nobody could tell me. And my parents, who were I'm fourth generation Japanese American to Hawaii, yes. And the Japanese, believed you had to go to school. You had to go to school, get good grades. And so when I said, well, how do I be rich? He said, well, I go to school. And I said, wait a minute. All of my uncles and my aunts and my grandfather and my father and my mother, they all went to school. They're still poor. So I knew there was something missing in school. And then my friends, most of them were white guys. I'm Asian, they're white. And they owned the plantations. Yeah. And I said, they know something I don't know. I work for them. Do you know? And I started hanging out with the rich white guys, and they didn't know either. None of them knew. They just were rich. So you go to school, you don't get rich, you hang out with rich guys, they don't know why they're rich. And that's when I met my rich dad. I said, somebody could teach me. So at 9 years old, my rich dad began to teach me. And I was just curious.
So your most famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is based on real characters.
Oh, yes.
So the rich dad was the dad of your schoolmate?
My best friend, yes.
Yeah. And the poor dad was?
My dad.
Your dad. Yeah.
My dad, for Japanese, was very tall. He was 6'4".
I see.
And he was a PhD. He graduated from his first school in only 2 years. 4-year school he did in 2 years. And then he was the head of education, and then he ran for governor of the state of Hawaii. So he was a political person, very smart, academic, political. And my rich dad was an entrepreneur and a scoundrel. So I learned from both dads.
Have you been a good student?
To both dads, yes.
What would your father say if you would see how wonderful your business is today? Was he still alive when you published the book?
No.
No. What would he say?
I had to wait 5 years after my father died to publish the book, because if I had published the book when he was alive, he would have died earlier.
Yeah.
So I waited 5 years. Both my poor dad died, then my rich dad died. And I was now rich. I was not rich. I'm not like a Donald Trump or anything like that. I just never had to work again for the rest of my life, and money was still coming in. So I thought I'd best write how I did it. And so I was sitting and writing and said, just thinking. And also I had a rich dad and I had a poor dad, and the book just started to come out. Yeah.
Is it true that the publishing houses didn't want to publish it?
That's correct.
So you had to publish it yourself?
Yes, I did.
What a lucky day.
Well, even though my father was a PhD, very smart man, and head of schools, I was always flunking out of school because I can't write. And so, and so when I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the publishers are all very smart people. They said, you can't write. And I said, well, you sound like my teachers. So I self-published the book, and that was in 1997. I said, okay, I've done my job. I've told people how I did it. I was already a rich man. I said, so I'm going to do something else. And I was in Australia in the year 2000, and the book has been just moving along the world by itself. People go, hey, you got to read this book. You got to read this book. Word of mouth advertising. And then in 2000, I was in Australia, and Oprah called. And Oprah, my wife says, hey, Oprah Winfrey called. And I go, yeah, so what? She says, she wants you on the program. I said, well, I'm out, I'm having fun in Australia. And she says, when Oprah calls, you come home. So I flew all the way from Australia to Chicago.
Yeah.
And nobody knew who I was, you know. They put me in the green room, you know, put makeup on me. I'm going, what's happening? And they take me into the studio, and I look up on the stage. There's just 2 chairs, just like this. I go, 2 chairs? And all of a sudden it hit me. 1 chair was for Oprah, and 1 chair was for me.
Yeah.
So in the year 2000, my book was already a bestseller,
yeah.
New York Times bestseller. So I sat down with Oprah, and my whole life changed. And suddenly I became famous. You know, everybody said, who are you? I said, well, I don't know, I just popped up here.
It's quite unbelievable.
Yeah.
If you think about 10 minutes discussion with Oprah.
It was 1 hour.
Yeah.
She gave me 1 hour. And it was the greatest gift she could have. She's a great person.
Yeah.
Greatest gift. At the end of the program, I'm going, she goes, bye. I said, you know, and she says, hey, I just sold 1 million copies of your book. And I went, wow. And I make $5 a book.
Yeah.
I said, I just made $5 million in 1 hour? That's the most money I've ever made.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and then from there, because her show is syndicated, as you know, that it went all over the world. And today the book is in, I think, 100 languages or 50 languages, whatever it is, and it's still selling.
Yeah. When we go back to your young years, you served during the Vietnam War as a pilot of a helicopter?
Yes.
Gunfighter helicopter or something? Yeah.
Yes.
You don't talk very often about this experience. Was it painful?
It wasn't painful from anything else, but so I went twice. I went once in 1966 as a student because I went to military school. So I went to study the Vietnam War from cargo operations for ships. Then in 1972, I went back as a pilot, and so I was more grown up. And I saw war as this horrible. It wasn't about America, you know, and da 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 da. It was about money. And I couldn't fight anymore, you know. So even though I had a good career as I could have gone all the way through and all this, I said I choose not to fight anymore. So it wasn't painful from war. I lost a lot of friends, but I had to question being an American. That's what I had to question.
Yeah.
So I still live in America. I pay my taxes. I respect what they do, but I work for peace in my way, you know. And if money causes war, then money can also stop war. And the greatest cause of war is actually poverty. And so that's why I work to teach people how to take care of themselves, because poverty is spreading throughout the world. It's spreading, you know. And when there's poverty, then there's discontent, and then there's war. And so throughout history, every time there has been poverty or a crisis, dictators arise. So back a few years ago, Napoleon came up through this area. There was also a guy Milosevic. There was also Mao Zedong, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin. You know, that's what concerns me today in this crisis. America is broke, it's bankrupt. England may go next, France may go next, China may go next. And that'll spread poverty even greater, which will cause a greater gap between the rich and everybody else. In America today, we have a middle class, but it's going down very fast. They're all becoming poor. And Obama thinks the way you end poverty is give people money. That's never worked. You know, you don't give people money. You have to teach people. And so our school systems don't teach us anything about money, so poverty keeps increasing. So the beautiful thing about the Czech Republic is you guys know what communism is like.
Oh, yeah.
And so
you still remember, some of us.
Yes.
Some of us still remember. Some of us seem to have forgotten.
Yes. So you're moving from communism to capitalism, hopefully, that last election you had and all this. America, since they've never known what communism is moving from capitalism to communism.
Do you think so?
Oh, yes. And that's why Obama's taken over our businesses, taken over this, state-controlled. He took over General Motors, taken over the banks. You know, I mean, that's communism.
Yeah.
He's a good man. I don't make him, you know, he's from Hawaii. but he was raised on government welfare.
Yes. Yeah.
He never had a job. He's never run a company. Now he runs the world.
Could you even today fly a helicopter?
No. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. When we think about, let's say that every person on the earth would get your books. They would follow your advices and rules.